Hi, you're listening to Everyday Superpower. Here you learn how to read the minds of individuals purely through observing their body language and non-verbal interactions, okay? How they engage and communicate with the world around them as well as other people. Very simple, we don't go into any jargon or any nonsense, we just tell you how to do it, how to apply it in the real world, and you'll start to observe patterns and really understand a person's mind state purely through applying these concepts. So if you enjoy what you hear, click like, click subscribe. If you have any commentation, leave a comment. So today we're talking a little more so about personal space and territory. Okay, so we're going to talk in particular about handshakes and how an individual will shake the hands of another person and how they do so could be a direct reflection on the environment they grew up in or the environment they are used to being in. Alright, so in the previous video, what we spoke of is how when individuals are grouped together, such as those who live in a close-knit community in a high-rise building, flats, apartments, those who are in a highly dense populated city rather so than the countryside, are used to having less space, less personal space, and more people infringing within their space. Okay, so they have to get used to owning less territory overall, generally speaking, within these areas. Now, how does this affect somebody's handshake? So let's talk about it. Typically, someone who is more used to having more space. So if you look at the photo I've done for the video, it's very long spans between each and every individual there. These people are used to having heaps of space and territory of their own. So when they handshake, they will reach outwards rather so than inwards to the body, which is a outwards reflection of their intimate and social personal space bubble, as opposed to someone who's used to being so close to everyone each and every day, who lives in the inner city and in New York or in London and used to everyone being around, who won't feel the discomfort of having a close handshake. I watched a video of two wealthy individuals. One of them in particular came up through music and was a rap artist, still is a rap artist, and has made a lot of money to be able to shake the hands with the wealthy. In this interview, when they initially met, the wealthy individual had such an incredible outreach with the hand, entering the personal zone of the other individual, the rapper, whom had a upbringing within the projects, highly dense, closed in, populated flats. You could tell whom was used to having space of their own and whom was used to being enclosed with other people, having less, whereas the other was used to having more. Now, this didn't necessarily reflect on the worth of either of these individuals, but you were able to identify whom had a more expansive personal space bubble, who felt like they had the right on a subconscious level to have more space, and that would reflect on how close they will allow people to them. So this individual who has to have an incredible outreach just to shake the hand of another individual because they feel uncomfortable with people coming too close, that will reflect on interpersonal relationships and how they will communicate in general. Not necessarily, anything to do with purely the handshake, but to do with the social interactions in general. So the hand is meeting with both individuals on a neutral territory, But the small populated wiring of the individual has created a more spacious bubble around the individual. So when I spoke about intimate and personal territory and intimate space, on the last video I spoke of a radius of being from the touch of the skin to 6 inches to 18 inches. So some individual may have an intimate space of 6 inches. If you get closer, you might make that individual uncomfortable due to survival mechanisms. But some other individual may have a bubble as broad as 18 inches when they're uncomfortable due to that infiltration of the personal space, you see. So the individuals who are reaching more outwards are going to stand with a more firm, broader stance on the floor to ensure that they're centered when they lean forward, which also adds to the acquisition of territory and personal space and resource and what this person is used to. Okay? And it can go on and on. Those whom are raised in remote areas can have an even larger personal space as to where they would rather wave hands with an individual as it would bring discomfort to shake hands. Now this is just purely down to where this individual was brought up or what this individual is used to, okay? It doesn't necessarily work on a financial basis, because a very rich individual can live in London within the hustle and bustle, and a very poor individual, a very socially awkward individual, could be stuck within the midst of the mountains with near to nothing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Click like, click subscribe, leave a comment.